On June 13th, 2017, we are at the Council Chambers, Town Hall, 200 South Street, Morristown. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided according to law by written notice to the Morris County Daily Record, the official newspaper of the town of Morristown, and to the North Star Ledger both more than 48 hours ago, and posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall and filed with the office of the town clerk of the town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Roll call of council members. Ms. Davis.
Here.
Ms. Deeb.
Here.
Mr. Elms.
Present.
Ms. Foster.
Here.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannicone.
Here.
Council President Armington. Here. Council President, you have a quorum. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to observe a moment of silence, please. Is there any member, anyone that council members wish to keep in thought? If not.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, council members, on the consent agenda for this evening, you have 5 items on the consent agenda. What is your pleasure, please?
Make a motion to approve.
I just asked the clerk to take note of number 3, which involves private roads and township roads. And I think our approval needs to be pending the consent of the township municipality as well as the private townhome association that it impacts. It's also Saturday, October 8th. So for anyone that's interested, it's a dog walk, 5K dog walk, and it does involve roads around the Lidgerwood neighborhood. So please add that to your list of events to alert the public about. Administrator?
Oh, we can bring it up in the
It has been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice
thought they
President
were also
Foster,
supposed to be letting
that the
us
council
know.
agenda be approved for this evening. Other than Council Member Deeb, any other questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none on the motion to approve, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent. That motion carries. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, public hearing of citizens. We're going to have 2 public hearings officially this evening. At this time, we're going to have the public hearing regarding the 2017 municipal budget for the town of Morristown. Is there any member of the public wishing to be heard concerning the 2017 municipal budget? Any member of the public wishing to be heard? Seeing none, declare the public hearing of citizens closed. At this time, we're going to now open up the public hearing to any member of the public who wishes to address council on any issue. We ask that you please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Any comments that will be that are deemed derogatory or offensive will be termed out of order.
Sure.
Is there any member of the public wishing to address council at this time? Please come up, state your name, your address, and as I said, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Brian Hackett. I'm the New Jersey State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. Our address is 700 Professional Drive in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Our P.O. Box here in New Jersey is 248 in Helmetta, New Jersey, 08828.
Helmetta, did you say?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening, and I'm here to address an ordinance that you've temporarily tabled regarding a ban of the sale of cats and dogs in Morristown. I'd like to first just point out that in my capacity as state director for HSUS, I work with the largest, most successful, most well-respected animal protection organization in the country. We work with a variety of corporations and businesses of all different sizes. We work with mayors and councils and state legislators and federal officials on a whole slew of topics. We work with both parties. We work with a whole slew of community organizations. With that, I represent a few hundred of our members who are Morristown residents, as well as numerous other members in our state, our partner stakeholders, in support of your council, joining over 100 other New Jersey towns and hundreds of towns nationally that have passed this similar ordinance. It's a proactive measure. It's a common sense measure, especially in light of news lately right here in East Hanover recently with Just Pups, also in Paramus and East Brunswick. Brick recently moved to shut down the pet store there. These are problematic pet stores that source from disgusting, egregious puppy mills. During this process, you've heard from two particular business owners who are not residents of Morristown, who do not own businesses in Morristown, and admit that they probably never will. These individuals are disgruntled, angry individuals who are upset because the places from whom these pet stores source have been outed. They've been exposed. I will share with you the HSUS investigative report. This isn't our words. These are from and based on breeder lists provided to the towns from these pet stores in New Jersey, and they're also based on USDA governmental inspection reports. Not our words, government inspectors and their own information. It will show you not only the sources from where they get their puppies, which often have behavioral and health problems and numerous other issues. It will also show, contrary to their claims that we're the most regulated and there's already enough laws on the books, that those regulations and laws are not being followed by their own stores and by other pet stores in the state of New Jersey. The proof is right here. Not my word for it, but the government and their own words. I'd like to point out the important distinction that this is a pro-business, pro-responsible breeder ordinance. Over 100 other towns in New Jersey have passed this. Both large and small, Democrat and Republican, you name it, they've passed it. 9 counties, including our home county here of Morris County, just last year passed a resolution urging towns like yours to pass this resolution. There is nothing to be concerned about regarding legal issues. This ordinance has been challenged only 6 times out of the hundreds that have been passed in other states, and every single time courts have upheld this ordinance. In New Jersey, this ordinance was even passed in several towns that had existing pet stores that were sourcing from these terrible puppy mills. There have been no lawsuits and no challenges.
Mr. Hackett, please limit you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. In conclusion, I'd like to point out that responsible breeders do not sell to pet stores. These pet stores source from these terrible places that threaten consumers. They're terrible for the animals, and they'll say USDA license. Well, USDA license doesn't mean anything. I can give you what the Animal Welfare Act allows, and none of you in your right mind would let an animal function, your own pet, the way that these puppy mills are allowed to function, and these pet stores in New Jersey source from. So your ordinance would be proactive to prevent a pet store from selling these types of animals. It's smart, it's proactive, it's progressive, it's common sense, and you join numerous other towns that have done this and recognize this problem throughout our state and the country. So I would urge you to let cooler heads prevail and listen to the facts and the experts on this and pass this ordinance at your next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett. Council President, it's 7:47, and Councilmember Harris has arrived. Good evening, Councilmember Harris.
Correction, Mr. Clerk, I arrived at 40 after.
Thank you.
Back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Ross from 6 Florence Avenue in Morristown, New Jersey. 6
Street?
Florence Avenue,
Okay.
In Morris Township.
Morris Township, yes. Also, I have with me Will Ross, Adele Ross, and Lena Ross. They're also 6 Florence. And then Sophia Colecchia from 5 Florence Avenue.
What's your name and address again? Name again?
John
Ross.
Ross, R-O-S-S as in Sam. Will would like to present a petition from the TJ School, Thomas Jefferson, of students and faculty and staff, as well as students from the Woodland Avenue School in Morris Township.
So me and my friend Claire, we got this petition started because we wanted to stop the puppy shops, and because they're really bad places, and most of them get their animals from places like puppy mills in the South. They don't have to be in the South, but like farther away, and their puppy mills are places where the animals get abused, and most of the time they either end up having health problems or mental problems by the time they get shipped off to the puppy shops. Most of the time, the dogs, when you buy them, if you do buy a dog from a puppy shop, a lot of times they usually die within the first 6 months of having them because of the puppy mills lacking basic needs such as shots, and they take them away from their moms as young as 4 weeks old and ship them out to a bunch of puppy shops. So I have this petition, and there's 112 people in my school and in other schools and faculty and staff who want this horrible thing to stop. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Great, you can bring it here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross and company. Is there any other member of the public wishing to address council? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening again.
Yeah.
Cindy Knowles. I live at 8 Halsey Farm Lane in Tewksbury, New Jersey.
May I have your address again, please, Ms. Knowles?
8 Halsey Farm Lane in Tewksbury, New Jersey. And I'm going to pass out some pictures here because I believe pictures are worth 1,000 words. The first set of documents are in stark contrast to these horrific puppy mills that everybody here wants to talk about. Those are real pictures. I'd like to say that the HSUS and the activists that follow them have never talked to one of our breeders. They've never met one of our breeders. They've never visited one of our breeders. I'm sure as you look at these pictures, you see that these kennels are nicer than most people's homes. Take a look at the breeding dogs, take a look at the puppies we're holding. I'm sure you see that they're in stark contrast. The other thing that I would like to point out is another document I just sent around. If you start to look at this, it's also in stark contrast to what was just said. These are real stories and real posts from real customers that come back for their second, third, and fourth puppy. Interesting enough, and maybe the children in the room would be interested in this, there is a award-winning author, children's author in Chatham. She, on the front page here, she came in for Flapdoodle, is shown. Flapdoodle was the next character in her book. She not only came in for Flapdoodle, she loved Flapdoodle so much, she's writing a book now with Susie Doodle, who also joined the family. Here is a picture of a post from a customer that wanted a small dog so they could travel with them. You see how healthy these dogs look? These are not sick, horrible dogs from horrible puppy mills. So here's the puppy right on the plane, traveling down to Florida. Just one after the other. Here's a post in here of a customer who lived in New Jersey, bought a Yorkshire Terrier, loved the Yorkshire Terrier so much from the breeder that I do business with. She moved to Arizona and just a few months ago literally flew from Arizona to come back and get another puppy from that same breeder. So I happen to own and run an animal hospital as well, and I'm sorry, I think I know a little bit about medical care, veterinary care, and in my shop, being a very reputable shop, we know how to take care of puppies, and we know how to work with breeders. These breeders are well versed, and what I want to say as well is this model doesn't work. The HSUS will not talk about it anymore, but the Pat's Pups in Cherry Hill was recently shut down by the health department. They were trafficking in sick dogs knowingly, parvovirus problems. They were shut down by the Cherry Hill Health Department, and it gets worse. Not only were they knowingly bringing these dogs in, the rescue broker, and this is big business now, all these shelters are trafficking these dogs in. There's no dogs here in the shelter to fill a store. The woman who was sending the dogs in is up on multiple counts of forgery. She was falsifying health certificates. Totally unregulated. We're totally regulated. Why would the town of Morristown want to start getting involved in a totally unregulated? You're going to have diseases brought in. There's no veterinary oversight. In a shelter or rescue, they're only required to see a veterinarian one time in a year. Do you know how many times my puppies in my shop have to see a vet? If it's there longer than 14 days after its first vet, it has to get vet checked again. So we're talking about regulated versus unregulated. If you want to start bringing disease, no veterinary oversight, then this is the model to go with. If you want regulated with stores that stay compliant, then this is what we need to do.
Ms. Knowles, you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, so like I said, again, the HSUS has not been to one of our breeders, has not talked to one of our breeders, has never met one of our breeders. And I think these pictures show it all. So we're not dealing with these horrible, horrific puppy mills. Those are the substandard. And you have to realize too, what regulation is all about. If a breeder falls out of compliance with New Jersey law, guess what? We don't buy from them anymore. They're quoting these breeders. They're not even on my breeding list. I brought that to the last meeting. I'd be happy to go over my breeding list one by one, show you the compliant USDA reports with every breeder that we currently are using in our store. So again, the whole key here is regulated versus unregulated. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think so.
Thank you, Ms. Knowles. Any other member of the public wishing to address council at this time? Okay.
Hi, my name is Joanne Moyo, 92 Overlook Road, Morristown, New Jersey.
What's your last name again, please?
Moyo, M-U-O-I-O. I used to work at Furrylicious when it first opened. There were a few groomers. I was an assistant groomer. I also am a volunteer at St. Hubert's Animal Shelter, and I would foster for them. Cindy would let me bring in dogs for adoption at the shop, but then she decided that she was going to sell puppies. The puppies came from puppy mills down south. The Hunt Corporation, which is a big puppy mill broker in Missouri, would bring the puppies up in a trailer every Monday morning. They would be there for days without ever getting out of the trailer. She would tell people they would come from reputable breeders, but reputable breeders don't sell their puppies to pet stores. If you don't see the parents, they're not reputable breeders. So my point is, puppy mills, the breeding puppies stay in the cage like a couple of inches bigger than they are for the rest of their lives. It's torture for them. The puppies that came into Furrylicious had a lot of health problems. Cindy got this big machine to hook up so they could breathe because most of them had kennel cough or worms, and she owns the Long Valley Animal Hospital, and her brother's the vet there, so she would bring the dogs there to get checked and then get a health certificate when people would buy them and say they were cleared. But most of them were sick. So my point is, pet stores sell dogs from puppy mills. They're not going to get them from breeders. If you don't want to get a dog from a shelter, then you could get it from a reputable breeder. I mean, I have no problem with that, but I have a big problem with puppy mills because puppies, the dogs suffer. They're in there for their lives 24/7, and it's just not right. And the laws have to change, and I hope you pass this ban. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moyle. Any other member of the public wishing to address council at this time?
Good evening. My name is Janice Fisher. I coordinate the Puppy Mill Awareness Campaign for Friends of Animals United New Jersey.
Can we have your address, please?
I'm Manasquan, New Jersey. Do you want the street address? 58 Morris Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I work with other animal advocacy groups on local, county, and statewide legislation. Over the years, I've received countless complaints from consumers of pet stores for the purchase of sick puppies, for not being able to get breeder information from these pet stores, and also for dubious financing like lease agreements that end up costing these customers double the price of the puppy. For years, pet stores kept customers in the dark until finally in 2015, transparency had to be legislated, which the pet stores, by the way, strongly opposed. Even after the law took effect, 24 out of 26 of those pet stores, according to the Division of Consumer Affairs, had to be fined into compliance. Case in point, the owner of one of the pet stores here tonight, who opposes this ordinance, was fined $25,250 for violating the law. In fact, the state investigator, according to his report, had to warn the pet store manager twice, stop putting breeder information on the cage cards as we're conducting this investigation. In addition to violating state law, New Jersey pet store breeders often violate federal law. I'm not sure if Ms. Knowles believes in the USDA reports, but that unfortunately is the only federal organization or federal government who has jurisdiction and who does inspections. She's well aware of them. I have in my hands over 90 breeder inspection reports with USDA violations, and these are just for the pet stores, the pet store owners that are here. These are their breeders. These are from last year. We aren't able to do research this year because the USDA wiped their database. But the way we look at it is if you have a track record of buying from all of these breeders last year with egregious violations, then you are not conducting a business that we would want in town. I want to share with you a couple examples of these USDA violations. I did provide, I think, the reports to the council president, and I'd be happy to give the reports to the clerk tonight. So these are some of the violations that we found on their breeder inspection reports. Open wounds with flies biting. A 5-week-old puppy at Miss Knowles' breeder who has a wound on his muzzle. His face is split from the top of his nose to his mouth. There is no vet care provided. Dogs are heavily matted, infested with ticks. They have overgrown toenails that lay sideways when the dog walks. These dogs are often outdoors in outdoor enclosures in temperatures below freezing with no extra bedding. There's fecal matter in the food bowls and green slime in water bowls. One breeding facility was performing major surgical procedures in a shed on a makeshift surgical table covered with, according to the inspector, dirt, grime, debris, and dried blood. Puppies were also housed in that shed. There were dogs with dental disease, ranging from gray matter covering their teeth where the inspector couldn't see the teeth, to a complete loss of teeth, and the jawbone was missing. Pet stores will tell you that this industry is highly regulated. The truth is, and pet stores know this, it took a huge effort to get the state to enforce the regulations. We met with the state several times. We had the state legislator who introduced the transparency legislation officially complain to the Attorney General, and finally we had to get media coverage. CBS covered it. Only then were fines issued.
Ms. Fisher, you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay. I won't finish everything else I was going to say, but as far as this retail rescue store that they mentioned having parvo, what the pet stores will not tell you is that there are 5 retail pet stores, not rescue, pet stores like them, who also had parvo recently. They'll never tell you that there are 4 successfully operating rescue stores who have not had parvo or any other issues. So I think canine disease is not exclusive to rescue, and it's disingenuous of these pet store owners to make you think otherwise. I mean, I'll be happy to give Ms. Knowles and Mr. Morton copies of these inspection reports. They can look at every one of the breeders and they can deny them, but this came from their licensing town because under law, the reporting requirement is that they supply those breeder lists to the town, and the town sent it to me on an OPA request, and we have copies of that response. So, I'm just hoping tonight that you'll listen to this and that you will do the right thing. I know that your constituents are supporting this for the most part, and I think that you will make Morristown proud. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brent Sisko, and I own a home on 77 Early Street in Morristown. Well, I also do not like puppy mills and hope that they are also outlawed. I'm here to voice my support for the Early Street Community Garden. As a community member, someone that lives on the street, I've been really proud of the success they've made, and I'm hoping that tonight you guys consider, my support as well as my other gardening members and public of Morristown to support allocating funds to finish, the beautiful renovation that they started, several years ago. That's all. I just hope you guys consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tracy Kenline. I'll try to be quick. I'm from
Spell
West...
your last name for me, please.
Koehnlein. I'm from West Orange. I am a certified dog trainer. I have worked and volunteered in multiple animal shelters since I was 12 years old. I have been a dog walker, a pet sitter, a trainer. I have breeders, trainers, groomers in my family. Dogs have been a part of my life since I was conscious. And last year, I visited 24 pet stores that sold puppies in New Jersey. There were only about 30 some odd. There were almost none that listed the breeders with more than 3 puppies that didn't have breeders with some sorts of violations. And one of the cage cards that I found February of last year from Furrylicious, listing Catherine Mast from Bogard, Missouri, I found on the Humane Society's Horrible Hundreds list of puppy mills, meaning the 100 worst puppy mills in the country. This is one of Miss Knowles' breeders, and it says Catherine Mast, CNC Kennels, emaciated dog and dog with explosive diarrhea for 3 weeks that had not been seen or treated by a vet. 2 dogs were found in need of veterinary care, a Sheltie who was thin with the ridges on its spine and ribs easily palpable, and a Husky with significant explosive creamy to tan loose stool. It continues. And I would probably be up here for 6 hours if I spoke about all the violations I've found at Shake-Up-Paw and spoken about the actual dogs I've personally met and worked with who have either health or mental problems due to where they came from. And if anyone wants to see, I have the cage cards with the screenshots from the HH list,
Bring them to the clerk, please. Thank you.
Yeah, to Kevin in the middle.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Great, thank you. I'll have the clerk distribute them.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Morton. My business is at 2195 US Highway 22 in Union. I'm the owner and president of Shakopee Pet Stores in New Jersey. It's really shocking to hear the animal rights activists, and that's what they are. They're animal rights activists. Their allegations are scandalous, and they're meant by the very emotionally charged statements that they make to sway you in the direction of course, no one wants to get a dog with those places with those terrible descriptions. I'm not for that. Cindy's not for that. No one is for that. No one on this council. I cannot, and I did not come here to justify their remarks and respond to it, although I'd be happy to in a different form. I did come here, however, to discuss your ordinance and to really discuss that if you wanted to pass this ordinance, how would it be implemented? So I open up my pet store here in Morristown, and you have an ordinance that says I have to obtain my dogs from shelters and rescues. That easily means that that shelter and rescue is now going to become a distributor under the United States Department of Agricultural law. I know the animal activists say the USDA is no good, their standards are terrible, and that's just simply not true. We can't believe that state inspectors and federal inspectors and everyone is just turning a blind eye that an inspector sees, if it's even true, the horrific things that the animal activists say, and then the inspector goes, no, you guys will fix this and everything's fine. A normal, reasonable person isn't going to believe that any licensed inspector from not only the United States Department of Agriculture, but there's also state inspectors. Missouri has inspectors. Every state, including New Jersey, has state inspectors that back up. So it's not just minimum standards where dogs can't turn around. That's every state has implemented all of their own regulations. So, and that's something that needs to be spoken about. It's not just minimal Animal Welfare Act standards. So before I came here, I took a look at where Morristown sends their shelter dogs to, and that shelter is the Montville Animal Shelter. And as of today, they had 2 dogs in the shelter. One was a pit bull, and 7 cats. So assuming that they would take their facility, become USDA inspected and licensed to be able for me to legally obtain that animal, then I take that animal, I put it in my pet shop. State law still says I have to put the breeder's name on the cage, so now I'm not in compliance. If you want to pass a law to continue to govern pet stores in your town, you have to make it something that I can comply with. And then you can inspect me. And then if I don't do the right thing, I can suffer those consequences. But passing a law that makes it impossible for me to comply with because the shelter's not properly licensed and the information that I get from the dog that I take from the shelter into my pet store, that I don't know who the breeder is, I don't know their name, I don't know their address, I don't know the medical history. New Jersey requires 34 separate fields of data on every dog. And pulling a dog, just simply writing an ordinance and passing it that says, you have to get all your dogs from shelters. It sounds rosy and beautiful and will end euthanasia, but that's just not what consumers want, and it's impossible to comply. So I would urge you that if you're going to pass an ordinance, you have to pass something that is going to comply with state law and that would allow me to continue to function under those guidelines. Mr. Hackett from the Humane Society of the United States stood here and claims to be an expert. And ladies and gentlemen, he's not an expert. A year and a half, what he is an expert at is politics. And that's what he does in his career, is politics. He doesn't do animal care. He lobbies and speaks to councils and mayors and tries to push the Humane Society's political agenda. And that's all this is a political agenda. Mr. Hackett said there's been 100 towns that have passed an ordinance such as this, and that's pretty true. But those ordinances were passed in towns without pet stores, maybe one that did have a pet store.
Mr. Morton, you have 1 minute remaining.
But really without any opposition. So now there's still 465 towns that have not passed this ordinance because it's not good for business, It doesn't do anything for the dogs of New Jersey because we're not able to source dogs from New Jersey. There's no shelter that shares their dogs with a pet store because the licensing is a problem. So thank you very much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Anyone else wishing to address council at this time? Come forward, please.
My name is Amanda Smith. I own Bubba Rose Business Company in Morristown. Our address is 84 South Street, and we're currently one of the only pet stores in Morristown. And excuse me if I'm a little nervous. I've actually never been to a town hall meeting before, and I'm very passionate about this subject. So if I get emotional, excuse me now. Just to rebuttal a couple things that they had mentioned. As an owner of 2 pit bulls, I'm not really sure what that breed had anything to do with this argument. Breed is a non-issue in this argument. So going forward, breed should never be brought up as a topic in any of these issues. So going forward, let's just keep that in mind. Also, I personally would be happy as a business owner in Morristown to go over those breeders with you guys. If you guys have any concerns, I'd be more than happy to read through those breeder lists that they had so mentioned, reviewing further with you guys. I'd be more than happy to offer that up. I also was a little bit frustrated at the implication that a future dog owner would love a sick dog or a rescue dog any less, because any dog owner, let's be real, whether they're naive to purchasing a rescue or not, is going to love their dog the same whether they bought it and it got sick or not. If you're a responsible dog owner, you're going to love your dog. So whether you got it from a breeder, whether you got it from a reputable shelter, a pet store, anything, to imply that anyone would love a rescue dog less is entirely unfair to the entire rescue model. And I'm going to read what I wrote because, again, I'm nervous. As a new business owner in Morristown, I really struggled when trying to pin exactly what I was going to say today. I was so disappointed when I heard through the grapevine of Morristown residents that the ordinance is most likely going to be overlooked because it, quote, doesn't affect Morristown right now, or some line about business regulation. I'm excited and honored to be blessed with the opportunity to be part of such a thriving, progressive town, but I really think we need to take a step back and look at how we are approaching this topic. Are we really the type of community that's going to turn a blind eye to issues as pressing as animal rights? Or are we really the type of people that put profitability over human decency and compassion for animals? I can tell you from firsthand experience that Morristown really loves their dogs. Like, I've never seen a town that loves their dogs the way that Morristown loves their damn dogs. And I'm so excited to be here. I think we owe it to the people of Morristown to ensure that their town will never be plagued with for-profit puppy sales. And to continue on with what they said, reputable breeders are not going to sell their dogs to these people. My family has bought from reputable breeders in the past. When I was young, I don't support that personally. I'm not against reputable breeders personally. I would never go to a breeder myself. I'm a rescue advocate through and through. I'm a pit bull advocate through and through. But reputable breeders are not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about pet stores. I understand there may be some confusion on what exactly we're trying to accomplish with this ordinance, and I know the Humane Society has or will do an amazing job at rattling off the facts and numbers to you, so I won't sit here and read you statistics. I'm coming to you as a Morristown business owner in the pet industry for the last 6 years, and the owner of 2 beautiful rescue pit bulls, telling you that the people of Morristown deserve better than this, better than ignoring this, hoping puppy mills will go away. Puppy mills are not going to go away unless we stand up and fight for better conditions for all animals. Please realize people running these stores value profitability much higher than they value animal welfare. Morristown is a town so full of town pride. Let's be proud that we did this. Let's be proud that we joined the fight in making this a statewide ban. It's time to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. Thank you guys so much.
Hi, Larry Cohen, volunteer for the Humane Society of the United States. I live in Fanwood, New Jersey. Couple of factual corrections. Since Mr. Morton and Ms. Knowles began following us around the state, 2 towns have passed ordinances, Matawan and Brielle, and several others have scheduled second readings. Shelters and rescues do not have to be licensed by the USDA. If they were to go into this type of situation, rescue retail, they would become a kennel, and they would be under the Board of Health regulations, exactly the same as a pet store. Or you could go the route that 24 of the largest 25 chains in the country go, which is that they refuse to sell dogs and cats because they consider it immoral. But what they do is they open their store and give space to rescues and shelters to come in on weekends and have special adoption events. You could certainly go that route. You know, I remember when nicotine was not addictive and cigarettes didn't cause cancer. And I knew that because R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris told me so. I remember when it was a great idea to own Enron stock and Lance Armstrong was an American hero. If I told you that this was tap water from Flint, Michigan, but it was perfectly fine to drink, would you still take it? Just because someone who cannot afford to be wrong tells you something over and over again, that doesn't make it true. Let's concede for a moment that Ms. Knowles and Mr. Morton are the shining beacons on the hill that they purport themselves to be. Let's say that there have been no fines. Let's say that these USDA reports, different ones, don't exist. And let's say that the breeders that they have done business with in the past never did all these horrible things. If you look through there, you can see. Let's say that Jay Masson never shot her dogs in the head. I think I brought that one up last time. Let's say that Debbie Phillips never had her Yorkies outside in 11-degree weather. Let's say that Sarah Young's Pomeranian wasn't missing all its teeth and its jawbone was not partially missing. Let's say that Jonathan Yuzzy never amputated his Yorkies' tails with scissors before they were 3 days old. Those are in those USDA reports that I just handed Mr. Harris. So let's say that all that stuff is not true or that these guys, despite all that, are the best of the best. Do you still want to do business with this industry if these guys are the best in the best, given that there are 19 other stores in New Jersey out there? Is this the industry that you want to allow to come into your town? You introduced this ordinance and came very close to passing it because your gut told you it was the right thing to do. Despite all the noise, the core reasons you were going to pass this and you should pass this have not changed. Please, listen to your gut. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Leslie Moran, Randolph, New Jersey. I trust council members have received my prior communication, and I do in fact have inspection reports to document if you care to have them. But my role here tonight is mostly to be the voice of local citizens. That's just the voice I want to be. When people become educated about the relationship between retail pet shops and the large-scale breeding operations that from which they source, and my goal is to be 4 minutes too, by the way. They invariably do not wish to have such businesses in their communities. Several years ago, we had such a store in Randolph. This was the impetus for a fairly brief and modest effort on the part of myself and a friend. As with the young people, we garnered signatures on a petition, and the petition reads as follows. The undersigned are opposed to having retail stores selling dogs or cats in our community. We favor an ordinance that will ban such stores. And it says a few other things, but I haven't photocopied these. If the council has an interest, I'm happy to do so. And I think I have about 150 signatures. We were focusing on Randolph and Mendip at that time, so they're limited in that respect. But we did find when we approached people with a petition, that exact petition, we got almost 100% interest. Practically, nobody said no. I mean, maybe they just didn't like being approached, but there was never an argument. They signed it. Secondly, I want to be I'm going to share the unequivocal voices of citizens who have either purchased puppies or become educated about the relationship between large-scale breeding and retail stores. My friend and I have a community Facebook page devoted to educating the public about this topic, and all these stories appear on our page except one, which is from Yelp. This was visible on Yelp just a few days ago when I checked, and I will read just a little part of it. It's a poignant story. Storm, dog's name, was born October 2013, passed away December 2013. He was purchased December 15th. He was diagnosed and tested positive for parvovirus and coronavirus. Diagnostics and microscopic findings consistent with an active infection. I don't want to read, that's a little bit too long. He had additional parasites, coccidia, urinary tract infection. My family fell in love with Storm. He was with us only 6 days, 3 in the intensive care quarantine, went into cardiac arrest on Saturday. Okay, that's not, I mean, every story is unique, but in another respect, that story is not unique at all. And I leave with you a copy of some of the other stories. Some are from several years ago, some are very recent as the end of May. Lastly, my role here is to share with you what has happened in other jurisdictions, and I think Mr. Hackett probably did a great job of that already, but I like visuals too. And I forget what his exact numbers were, but I think it's about 200 nationwide. Am I correct? A little over 200. Okay, and New Jersey, it's like almost 100.
It's over 100.
Over 100, which is quite amazing. This is California. California has 34 ordinances, big state, much bigger than us. And this is New Jersey. And this includes Livingston, Hoboken, Hackensack, small towns too, Watchung, Fair Lawn, Ridgewood, all over. These are readily available on a website. You can actually view the text of these ordinances if you wish. So I think I did pretty well there time-wise, right? New Jersey is a leader in animal welfare, and I don't see any reason why Morristown cannot do the same, and nothing would please your citizens more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Earl. I'm with Ferrylicious in White House Station.
What's your last name, please? I'm sorry.
Stephanie Earl from Ferrylicious in White House Station. This has been a pretty rough attack on us today, I think. I think it's unfair and unfounded. We would very much like to respond in detail to any reports they have about any breeders we may have used or that we do use. Because I know with the 2015 report, we had some non-compliant issues. That was 6 months after the law went into effect, and there were some mistakes made. We've corrected them. We showed you our breeder report from 2016. We are 100% compliant, so I don't know where these stories are coming from. I think, it's the shock value. We've now been in business for, Ferrylicious is new at this. We're a young store. We've been in business for 6 years now, and we're growing each month and each year. We have many, many happy customers, and this is just not what we're about. It's just not reality. And I know, I can also show you, if you look at our inspection report.
Ma'am, just so you're aware, if the council adopts the ordinance, it has no effect on on your store.
However, I've been pretty well dragged through the mud, and I don't think it's fair, and I think I should be able to speak to what a proper store does, so that you could consider it a little more fairly from, the way it's been presented. Because these are the fully compliant reports from some of my breeders, and the reason there's nothing on them is because they're fully compliant, meaning there's no issues. There's average breeder inspection is a 4.5-hour inspection. We have almost every one of ours is inspected once a year. When a breeder does have issues, they're inspected more frequently. So I don't know what they're talking about, and I don't think it's fair for them to come up here with, these stacks of papers with reports like this that, we know who our breeders are. We check them before and we check them after. We go through them. We know who our breeders are because we have relationships with them. We talk with them. And I don't know what it is that they're presenting. The other thing I'd like to say about the horrible 100, I know of 4 Pennsylvania breeders on the Horrible 100 list. 3 of them are exemplary. And one of them had problems in the past and just spent about $200,000 upgrading his kennels. So if you are opposed to breeding of any nature, I don't think that means that no consumers should be able to buy their dogs from pet stores or from breeders. And we know for a fact that there are not enough small hobby breeders in the state of New Jersey to meet the demand. And I don't understand how a good pet store like us, with the reputation we have, and the number of happy customers we have, because a disgruntled employee from 5 years ago gets up here and lies about our situation in our store and tells mistruths about who we're buying from and doesn't really know anything about how my store operates today. I just would hope, and what we would ask for is whatever they provided you, we would ask for a meeting to be able to sit down with you and address those issues, because those were some pretty serious accusations. So I would like to ask that we can address those situations one-on-one.
I'd encourage you to leave your reports or send your reports to the clerk, and he'll distribute them, and so we can weigh them.
Thank you.
Equivalently.
Thank you, Ms. Earl. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Stone. I live at 772 Myersville Road in Gillette, New Jersey. For those of you unfamiliar with that, that's part of Long Hill Township. Yes, we are the southernmost town in Morris County. I've recently been asked to serve as the Morris County volunteer leader for the Humane Society, so I look forward to introducing myself later on to all of you at a later time. I'm also a grad student at Fordham University. And on behalf of the various commuters in various stages of their education process at Fordham, whether it's the law school, or business school, or School of Social Work, or undergrad programs, I ask you on behalf of the Fordham community within Morristown and the Morris County area to consider passing this bill. Yes, I am an animal rights activist. I'm a Republican. I am probably the only conservative social worker at Fordham University at this time. I'm treasurer of our honor society. I am also a member of the NRA. Not only am I an animal rights activist, I'm a motorcyclist activist. I've been featured, October 2016, I was featured on the cover of the Motorcyclist magazine, which is the trade magazine for the the American Motorcyclist Association. So this isn't just a hug-a-tree kind of group. Not only do I care about puppies, I care about bikes, I care about guns, I care about my community. Talk about being dragged through the proverbial mud. This morning, I spent my internship hours at a district special ed school. Over the weekend, I work overnights with adults with developmental disabilities. So I guess I kind of have a soft spot for the voiceless, so to speak. But I just want to let you know that this isn't just a left-right issue. As I said, I'm a member of the NRA as well as the American Motorcyclist Association. I feel like this is a pretty well-rounded issue that most people could get around, and I ask you to consider putting the ordinance back on your agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Any other member of the public wishing to address council? Mr. Byrne.
Good evening. My name is Bill Byrne, and I live at 100 Franklin Street. And now I like to share something on a little bit of light note here. Is back in May 24th, I believe, I was honored the Distinguished Service Award. And that's not just any award, okay? It's really hard to get. And what happened is they would, give it to somebody like in the ARC or other people. But I am actually the first self-advocate to win this award, and it's really an honor. And So I'm the first self-advocate to win this award. And, yeah, not just like in the town of Morristown, but throughout the surrounding counties, throughout Morris County, throughout the surrounding counties, and throughout the state of New Jersey. So I didn't come empty-handed.
Pass it around.
So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Bill. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Any member of the public wishing to address council? Seeing none, I'm going to declare the public hearing of citizens closed at 8:32 p.m. Comments, questions from members of council regarding issues raised at the public hearing? Comments or questions? Councilmember Deeb.
I'd like to thank the animal welfare community that came out tonight. I know some of you traveled a long way, and I appreciate you being here. Unfortunately, I left my notes at home. I had taken some notes and done some research, and I left those talking points in another briefcase. So I just will be speaking extemporaneously. Puppy mills are a no-brainer. I said it the first time I was listening to this via conference call. I think the concern here was to make sure that we developed an ordinance that made a difference and that we did our due diligence to make sure that it was flawless. It's clear that regulations are not being followed and that the USDA and the Animal Welfare Act are not accomplishing the tasks that they're supposed to be doing. It's clear that there's pet stores that are violations. We have the information right here. I think the issue for this council to think about is what is the role of government here and what is the kind of town we want to portray to reflect an animal-loving, dog-loving community. And I think that passing something good really would make a statement for not only Morris County, but for the rest of New Jersey. And that would be to ban puppy mills. They're not good. I am founder of Mardog. I am a puppy raiser. I am a therapy dog team with Therapy Dogs International. I'm an all-volunteer with animals. I have been for the last 15 years. In all of my 15 years, puppy mills have never been a good thing. I rescued a puppy mill puppy. I got him, his legs were deformed, and because he was in a crate for so long, and then I trained him and he found a forever home. And it was really hard to give him up. He was a chocolate Labrador, and he was really cute, but he was definitely, his legs were not forming properly because he was in a crate from when he was really young. So I think that there's a chance here for the Morristown community, the Morristown Council, to make a difference in a very sorrowful, sad world in animal welfare. So I think that I'll close by saying that I think we as a society need to be more humane. And thank you to the Humane Society for taking the time to be here to advocate for this very important cause. So I am happy to support anything that would ban puppy mills from Morristown.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments from members of council?
Stefan, under the clerk, what's the status of the ordinance right now? It hasn't been introduced?
It was introduced, it's tabled. It's being reviewed by the administration for legal context at this point.
What was the outcome of the legal review?
Well, basically, we looked at the other ordinances that were out there, and as was indicated tonight, there are over 100 municipalities in the state that have passed it. And from what we could see, it looks like any time it was challenged, which was in a few instances, it has been upheld. So I didn't find an instance where it was struck down.
So let's put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I second
It'll be listed for June 27th. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Moving on, mayor's proclamations and presentations, Your Honor.
No proclamations. I'll, couple items. One is, I was in attendance when Billy got the award. My wife and I have been with Billy now for a number of years. And watching him go through the process of winning this award, for those who understand the depth of Billy Burns' commitment to people with intellectual and physical disabilities, is beyond what someone who doesn't have intellectual and physical disabilities has to deal with each day. He is truly a leader in the community, and has shown a light that gives people hope and opportunity, that Billy has proven that one can be a very successful member of the community and active in the community as he is. He's on Rent Leveling Board. He does so much. And I'm glad he wasn't here to talk about curb cuts.
Pedestrian safety.
But I saw him preparing his speech to accept his award. It was brief, but it was to the point of how he feels and how committed he is to helping others. And, you really can't put it into words. What he does. When you talk about all the issues that were just talked about with puppy mills and animal rights, Billy stands up for human rights, and that is the higher standard one in a community that I live in. I can be proud to say he's my friend, and I congratulate him on his award. Thank you, Billy. And his brother was in the Special Olympics, right, Billy? First one, right? Yeah. How about that? That's something. Today, our business administrator was at the grand opening of Massage Heights. I do not know if anybody in the council was there. I was not. I was in Newark. So was anybody there? Did you get a massage? Fees, did you get a massage? He did not. So another business opening. So that's great. They took a place. It's been empty at West Park Place. So it's good to see retail filling up the stores. We don't have a lot of empty stores, but it's good to see new retail up in that area. Tuesday, June 20th, there'll be a ribbon cutting at Berkshire Hathaway's new location at 264 South Street. On Thursday, the 22nd, there'll be a 5 p.m. ribbon cutting at 36th Street Capitol at 15 Maple. And on Saturday, June 24th, 9 a.m. grand opening and ribbon cutting of Atlantic Stewardship Bank at 43 South Park Place in Morristown, New Jersey. And it's a very interesting bank. You should all go check it out because they actually give back to the community. They give a percentage of their profit back to the community. It's a very interesting concept. It's Atlantic Stewardship Bank at 43 South Park. I think you met them, right? And so we welcome them. As you can see, things don't slow down. There's a couple of things I want people to be aware of, and I'm glad the gentleman from the most southern part of Morris County spoke, because I think he probably takes the train. You take transit?
I do.
Okay, so Kevin, people need to look at the New Jersey Transit website. Anybody who takes a train from July 10th to September 5th, as the chairman of the, I think it was the Transportation and Judiciary Committee said, it's going to be the summer of hell on the New Jersey Transit, because they're going to be doing track work for Amtrak at Penn Station. So their website, they just put it up. You can see the trains, you can see the changes, you can see when you want to make changes to go to early trains. You really want to pay attention to that, so you are well prepared for those
Delays.
8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. And I was at the hearings, and I asked this question. I said, is it a hard time, July 10th to September 5th? Those in construction and engineering know that anything can happen. So we hope that that's a hard date, that they're done by the 5th, but anything's possible. They did not commit that it was a hard date. So just be prepared for that. It's going to be a tough summer for those who use transit on a regular basis. I think, am I forgetting anything? I'm sure I am. Okay, one last thing. I want to, some were in attendance last night, Billy Byrne, Toshiba. I don't know if anybody else was there, but Mary and I put on a benefit last night for Lymphomia and Leukemia Society. We had Brendan Fletcher, who was the number 8th guy on The Voice last year. It was an amazing turnout. They raised a lot of money for cancer last night. And if you want to see the story, you can see it on Morristown Green. They did a great job. And that's what, even what's going on with the council and all you that come out to support this issue on both sides is what makes Morristown the town that it is, because we are community-minded, we are active, and we do a lot of different things. And I think it shows on the participation from the council and the public for what we do. I also want to extend another congratulations and thankful to Michelle Dupree Harris for the election. Now it's over, and look forward to working with you for the next 6 months. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Council liaison reports.
Parking Authority did not meet since the last meeting.
And others?
I just want to thank the mayor and the town of Morristown. The Whippany River Watershed had its first dinner, and it honored 2 longstanding volunteers, one of which was Councilman Ayanna Cohen's father, and a longstanding volunteer, Art Vespignani. And it raised, we did well and raised several $1,000s for the organization. So I just want to thank the town for their support, and it was successful.
Council President?
Yes.
I didn't see that my assistant stuck this in between 2 papers. I was wondering, really, we haven't had much action since May, but we've been busy. There's quite a few things that the public should be aware of. One of them, I won't go through all of them from May all the way on. We talked about transit. We also want to talk about, I'll let Councilwoman Toshiba Foster talk about it after I'm done, on her event that took place the 10th. But the Morristown Medical Center held a symposium on Do No Harm. And for those who don't know what Do No Harm is, it's education and on heroin and opiate epidemic that's going on in not just our state, but throughout the country. The governor spoke. He is well-versed on this issue. And obviously, the president has made him a national task force leader on this issue. Many doctors, pharmaceuticals, and different people in the medical field were in attendance. I went to it with a group called CARES, Alton Robinson from Morristown, who is well-versed in this issue. And kids are dying at 2,500 a day in this country. I want to at least echo what the governor said, that 4 out of 5 heroin addicts started on prescription medication. 4 out of 5. Heroin now, for a fold, sells for $3 a bag. And it's being cut with a drug called fentanyl. And fentanyl is what's causing all these overdoses. So I think it behooves us as a people and a nation and a town to reach out and wake up and help wherever we can on this issue, because they compared it to the HIV/AIDS issue that no one talked about until, and the governor, I'm going to use the governor's words, when Magic Johnson came out publicly that he had contracted HIV/AIDS, it became, oh my God, how could this possibly happen? It was very quiet. It was not talked about. And that's what they said really stepped it up. And they're comparing this epidemic to that epidemic, that people need to get out and talk more about it. Because, you know, a 15-year-old gets a wisdom tooth taken out and they get a prescription of 30 Percocet or 30 Vicodin. And I know that the governor just passed a law, that the 5-day prescription, so they're doing stuff to combat it. But I think as a public, not the right word would be, but it's an epidemic, and that we all have to share in the part of getting more educated about it. As we have children or ourselves on narcotics, on opiate use, it's and you know, it was something that was really great to hear the education part of it. But I'll end with this. The DEA was there, and I wish everybody was there. The DEA had film, and it was great to see that they would share that with us. And it was a pharmacy in Florida, and I'm glad the CEO of St. Michael's is sitting here. It would have been something I think that you would have really enjoyed. The pharmacy opened at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the pharmacist came around the side of the building, and there were a few people mingling around. You could see them, go away until the place opens. When the guy went to the door and unlocked the door, they came in waves, walking. I mean waves. I mean not 5 people, 30, 40, 50 to get their prescriptions filled. So it's amazing. It's a part of all pharmaceuticals. It's pharmacies, it's a whole level of, and it's the illegal drugs coming from other countries.
People have no idea, you're absolutely right. But let me ask a question. Do we have the stats of overdoses that are either handled through the police and or the ambulance squads out of Morristown? There's a reason why I'm asking.
Chief?
Can we get those stats?
Sure.
Because the programs that are working, 600 more beds, what really works is actually getting a counselor and getting help to these people immediately in the emergency department.
Right, and that's what they're doing.
No, they're not doing.
Yes, CARES is in Morristown Hospital. They are.
It's a grant, and I think we should actually help, and it has to be actually town initiated. So if we could get those stats.
Right, so that's what the governor talked about. When someone overdoses and they get brought back by Narcan, which is, if those who don't know what Narcan is, it's a nasal, what would you call it, antidote that you come right out of an overdose. And then when they're brought to the hospital, the way it is you just leave and they don't follow up. But now that they're calling us what they call a specialist.
It's a specialist, but the secret is that this is the difference. There's a lot of specialists out there. They literally have to stick with the person for 18 weeks or more.
Yeah. So it's something we can look at as a community.
It doesn't work.
And I agree with the councilman. I think it's something we can put our...
If we can get those stats, we should actually look at actually getting under that grant.
And believe me, there's no discrimination on this. This is every town in every town. So, all right, thank you for listening to that. Saturday the 17th of June, there'll be 11 a.m. annual rabies clinic. So that kind of, it's a clap. Thank you, that's good. 4 p.m. Relay for Life, this is all the 17th. 4 p.m. Relay for Life is at Menin Arena. And I hope I can make this. At 7 p.m., the LGBT benefit concert, This Is Our Story, is at the Church of the Redeemer, and we were the first town in the state of New Jersey to initiate with the chief of police in the hospital. The chief really was the initiator with the hospital for the Safe Place program brought in by Seattle for LGBTQ community to educate businesses if people feel like they're being bullied or harassed, they can go into these stores because they have a sticker on the door and they know that's a safe haven, and the people and the businesses know what to do when that happens. So I thank the chief in the back for bringing that to our community. Kleitman Woods I missed it because I had to work. Clayman Woods groundbreaking, which is another park that's being done in Morristown. Hasn't been one in a long time. We'll probably do a couple more over the next few years. But that was a great acquisition of open space. Took some time. There's a lot of different moving parts. We've definitely changed engineers and business administrators over the years, and so I'd like to thank Anthony and Jillian for getting that going and getting it finalized. So we're happy about that. Pools open on the weekends. When do they open full operation?
After school ends, next
After
weekend after next.
Weekend after next when the school ends. So I know people have been, with this heat wave, wanted to go jump in the pool. But we don't have the staff yet because the kids are still in school. So we don't have the staff. And Meet Me in Morristown, first season was May 25th. So there's a bunch of other stuff, but it can wait. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Calendar of events, segueing into what the mayor said. Council members, I did submit to you a list of events for the month of June. It was in your council packets. Some of the items that His Honor spoke on this evening were covered in those, some weren't. I also presented at table this evening another list that was provided to me by the administration earlier today of events that are going on. Like I said, some of them were included in your packet, others weren't. With that in mind, is there any other events that council wishes to bring to your colleagues or the Assembly's attention this evening?
Thank you very much for this. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, seeing none, we're going to move into our regular.
Can I
Yes,
just, regarding the rabies clinic, I had asked at the last council meeting whether we could provide the heart tags for, because right now, people don't want to go to the rabies clinic because they don't get that ID tag that they would get at the veterinary. It's like a red heart, and it's very noticeable on the dog's collar. Right now, we're just giving like a paper certificate, and that can get mangled, and so my understanding is that only veterinaries can give that, but I wanted to get clarification if that was the case.
Yeah, I apologize. I will follow up on that.
All right,
In fact,
thank
I'm
you.
gonna
I just wanted to
send
remind
text
you when
messages
the
now.
mayor said that that was going on.
Thank you for the reminder.
Thank you. Oh, and there's a ribbon cutting, not a ribbon cutting, but an event at Lucy's Gifts this Saturday from 11 to 3, and that is in honor of the store and their owner and her anniversary of her father, so that should be a good event too.
moving on to our regular business items, agendas for the regular business items on the agenda for this evening. Ordinances for introduction. Council members, you have 2 ordinances for introduction this evening. Ordinance 017, 2017. It's an ordinance of the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, state of New Jersey, for compensation for the elected mayor, town council members, and council president in the town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted. Is there a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Councilmember Deeb, that ordinance 017, 2017 be introduced this evening on first reading by title only. Is there any questions or comments from members of council?
My understanding, there's no change from last year or 5 years ago.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, on the motion to introduce, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 7 yeas. That motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing on ordinance 017, 2017 shall be the meeting of Tuesday, June 27, 2017, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, ordinance 018, 2017, an ordinance of the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, state of New Jersey, for compensation of management, non-union positions in the town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster, and Councilmember Davis, I believe, was on
Yes.
the second as well. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk,
Ms. Beck.
point of clarification, the ordinance you have in front of you is not the correct version, unless you put an updated version. On page
Ms. Weatherburn
2?
provided me with the correction for the title only.
Okay.
Yes.
This one's a minor one. On page 2, there's a part-time public health nurse position. The range should be $30 to $50, not $49. That was the minor change that was made.
Mr. Pawar, that can be amended as it hasn't been introduced yet, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. 30 to 50?
Yes, please.
And that was the part-time, what was the position?
The public
again?
health nurse?
Thank you. Part-time position?
Yes.
Okay, Council President, do you wish to amend your ordinance as
Yes, I make a motion to amend the ordinance
as modified?
018-217 as modified.
Okay. And, all right, so Councilmember Davis, do you wish to amend your second as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and Councilmember Deeb is joining. Any other questions or comments from members of council before we proceed to vote? If none, on the motion to introduce, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannicum.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 7 yeas. That motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing on ordinance 018-2017 shall be the meeting of June 27th, 2017, beginning at 7:30. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, ordinances for adoption. Council members, you have 2 ordinances on for consideration this evening. Ordinance 015-2017, a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $4,068,566 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,170,000 bonds or notes of the town to finance part of the cost thereof. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster, that ordinance 015-2017 be adopted this evening on second reading by title only. At this time, members of the public, is there any member of the public wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 015-2017? Seeing none, declare the public hearing of citizens closed. Questions or comments from members of council?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Sarah, can you just list the items that are going to be in that? It says section 3.
I have it here, Joanne. You need it?
I'm sorry?
Do you need it?
I have it. Is there any particular part of section
Just
3?
read it so the audience knows.
Oh,
Thank
yes,
you.
will do. Okay. Reflected in the capital budget that's before you, the first item is $25,000 for the animal department, which is the acquisition of an animal control vehicle, including all related costs and expenditures incidental thereto. The second item is for building, which includes $15,000 for miscellaneous repairs and upgrades, including but not limited to data line runs and repairs to Spring Street, including all work and materials necessary thereto and incidental, therefore, and incidental thereto. Number 2 is the court office bathroom renovations, Speedwell Firehouse stair tread replacement, renovations of Speedwell Firehouse bathrooms, HVAC duct repairs, improvements to the building department reception, rebuild compressors for town hall, Speedwell Firehouse roof replacement, including all work materials and materials necessary therefore and incidental thereto. That item totals $215,500. The next item is the senior bus, which is the acquisition of the bus, including all related costs and expenditures incidental thereto. The total is $150,000. The dams, Pocahontas Dam, parging of cracks, Burnham Park Upper Dam, wall parging, Speedwell Dam, hydrophilic foam injection, and Burnham Park Lower Dam parging and stabilization, including all work and materials necessary therefore and incidental thereto, for a total of $65,000. Foots Pond Contingency Fund for additional work or studies and testing, 2017 engineering hydrology study, and Foots Pond trail improvements, including all work and materials necessary therefore and incidental thereto, for a total of $127,696. Equipment, including the acquisition of a Mason dump truck with plow and spreader, the acquisition, which is $80,000, the acquisition of an electric welder with torch and a bobcat with plow blower attachments for $79,000. Under the library, the installation of a wall, including all work and materials, for $250,000. The Parks Department improvements to Park at Speedwell and Clayton Woods, including all work and materials, for $354,000. And to be clear, this is a park related to the Speedwell redevelopment area, not Speedwell Park. In the Public Safety Department's acquisition of computers for $46,830. The acquisition of gear, bags, protective helmets, fire oxygen tanks, body-worn camera equipment, and radios for $139,735. Under the Pool Department, restroom floor resurfacing at Burnham Pool, GPR inspection of Burnham and Caldwell pools, major repair, contingency, and rehabilitation resurfacing of Caldwell Pool, including all work and materials necessary thereto for $59,150. The Road Department, co-op castings, co-op fencing, traffic signal maintenance, interns and engineering overtime, installation of a sewer television, police traffic directors, striping, crack sealing, curb, sidewalk, and drainage repairs, the MLK Streetscape Phase 2, milling, resurfacing, and all work and materials necessary therefore for $1,966,655. And last but not least, tree planting, including all work and materials, for a total of $30,000. So that totals $3,603,560 with $465,000 in Section 20 money for planning and engineering work.
Thank you. Going back to Caldwell Playground and the resurfacing, it was 51,000?
The pool?
Yeah. When was the last time that the actual had resurfacing before that? Because I thought you did some patching or other type of work to it over this past summer.
Yes, this year we did some repairs and repainted the pool for the summer. Once the season is over, we'll be doing a whole resurfacing project. Unfortunately, due to the late weather season and other sort of timing issues, we weren't able to get the resurfacing done before the pool opened, and we didn't want to delay the opening anymore. So the decision was made to do the repair for the season and then to do resurfacing after the season is over.
Okay, thank you.
On the Clayton's Woods, and you said, is that combined with Speedwell Park? You combined those two projects?
Well, yes, exactly. A majority of that, of those funds are expected to be used for Clayton Woods, about $250,000, give or take.
Okay.
The balance will be used to begin the design work for the new park at Speedwell, adjacent to the Madera property. We expect that there will be a second phase of funding in the next capital budget.
Now, the project at Speedwell Park, though, that wasn't part of the redevelopment plan or agreement to have that park included with
The agreement had a share of funding from the developer. We've already received $250,000 from the developer towards the initial costs for the project.
Okay.
But the town is responsible for at least half of the cost of the park.
Okay.
Jillian, just one other point of clarification. This is just what we're bonding for. It's not the entire capital project for the 2017-2000, correct?
This is the entire capital plan.
Okay, so for example, this evening, we're inserting into the budget, for example, $40,000 for the park on Early Street, which is shared with Grow It Green. That's not being funded through bond financing.
That's not funded through capital, that's in the
So
operating
this
budget.
is just what's being, I'm sorry, clarify that again?
It's in the operating budget, not in the
Got it.
capital budget.
Thank you.
Sure.
Why isn't it in the capital budget?
The decision was made to put it in the operating budget. We don't include every single project necessarily in
Improvement.
capital. We typically do the large improvements in the capital budget, but there are some projects that are also in the operating budget as well.
Julian, Section C, can you give us some details about the senior bus?
This is to replace the Colonial Coach. Last year, there was a lot of feedback from, particularly from the seniors who ride the bus, looking for a bus that has wider aisles, more space for bags, particularly to go to ShopRite, for example. So we are developing some bid specs to put out for the summer, and hopefully we'll have the new bus before the end of the year.
And that's just for one vehicle, or is that
That's for one vehicle. It's for a large passenger bus.
28 passenger?
No, it'll be probably more like 30, 32. And it will have
Like a shuttle bus?
wheelchair.
A large shuttle bus?
No. No, like a senior bus, like a bus.
It's a bus. It's
Like a school bus?
No.
not a school bus.
It's lower level.
It's a new bus.
It's smaller than a coach, larger than a shuttle bus.
Is it air conditioned?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would-
And wheelchair.
And wheelchair compatible.
Yeah,
When you
they're
say
expensive.
compatible, is it the newest equipment that you use for the sides so that the driver locks them in correctly?
Yes.
I know, okay, and he will get training on it, of being
Yes.
able to do that.
Yes. Yes.
So we're shopping bids for that?
Yeah, we're putting together bid specs now.
It's not necessarily going to be 150K, though.
Could be more.
I mean, we based that on some research that we did on the price of the bus that we were sort of have in mind. Certainly, hopefully the bids will come in lower.
Okay. Can you
But
send me,
that's approximately what we think it'll
can you
cost.
send me the information on the bus that you're looking at?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 7 yeas. That motion carries. Ordinance 015, 2017 is hereby adopted. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, ordinance 016, 2017, on for consideration for adoption, an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the town of Morristown, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 40.2, handicap parking on streets for private residents, to add a dedicated handicap parking space for a resident of 20 Condit Place.
I'm going to make a motion to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster and Councilmember Davis. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, is there any member of the public wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 016, 2017? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing of citizens closed. Questions or comments from members of council? If none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 7 yeas. Motion carries. Ordinance 016, 2017 here for adoption. Moving on to the next items on the agenda, resolutions for adoption. Council members, are there any resolutions that you wish to have pulled for separate vote at this time?
82 and 87, please.
82 and 87.
84 for purposes of clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we go into the vote, council members, I did present to you this evening, I emailed you earlier in the day, and I did present to you at table an ordinance, a resolution this evening approving for the 2016-2017 licensing year, the alcohol club license for the Creighton Mays American Legion Post number 312 located at 78 Abbott Avenue. Council had on November 10th, council by resolution 181 of 2016 had approved the renewal of their license for the 2015-2016 licensing term, which they failed to timely file for renewal. They had to get a special ruling from the director of the New Jersey Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control. At the time they applied for the special ruling, they did timely file their 2016-2017 application, renewal application. They paid their fees both to the state and to the municipality. However, pending the special ruling and them getting tax clearance and approval from the state ABC for council to renew their license, to consider their license for renewal, brings us to where we are tonight. Nothing in this ordinance deals with the 2017-2018 renewal. They still have to file their application and do that. This renewal will expire June 30th of this year. They will still have to timely apply for their 2017-2018 permit if council approves the license renewal tonight.
Make a motion to move
To add it to the agenda.
and to assign it R88.
Okay, it's
Add
been
it to the
moved by
agenda.
Councilmember Deeb, seconded by Council Vice President Foster to add this resolution renewing the club license of Creighton Mays to the regular agenda and assigning it resolution number R88, 2017. Questions on the motion?
What's the motion?
Motion to add to the regular, add to the list of regular business items. On the motion to add, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb. Ms. Deeb, on the
Yes.
motion to add, thank you. Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannaccone.
Yes.
Council President Armington. Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 7 yeas. Motion carries. Now, with that being said, moving back to the resolutions for adoption this evening, we have resolutions R82, R84, and R87 that have been requested be removed for separate vote. Is there any other resolutions that council wishes to remove for separate vote?
I'm sorry, Kevin, can you repeat which ones we're pulling?
R82, R84, and R87.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Is there a motion
I'll make a
concerning
motion
the
to-
remaining resolutions? Council President Armington?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster, I believe. Are we doing
83.
83, 85,
86.
86, and 88 en masse?
Yes.
Yes.
Questions or comments from members of council? If none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb pass. Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Iannaccone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb, absent. Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent. Motion carries. Resolution R82, 2017, resolution adopting 2017 municipal budget, Town of Morristown, January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster, that resolution R82, 2017 be adopted this evening. Questions or comments from members of council?
Yeah, I asked to pull this. Because in the past, we've included the 5-year financial trend analysis, and that's been part of the budget. The last time we did it was in fiscal year 2015. So it was a 5-year financial trend analysis that included a revenue analysis. It included 5-year projections. And I know that you said that it included expenditure analysis, it included operating position, and debt structure. And the last time it was in the budget, and it was included in the budget that we passed, was in 2015.
It was in last year's budget as well.
Okay, so it wasn't in this year, and I know we've discussed it and we met, and you said that it's not accurate, or it's not it's not a part of the budget. But in the future, I'd love it if we could include it in the budget. I personally went to a financial class and on my own time and at my own cost and learned about this and asked that it be part of the budget a few years ago. So I think that this council has approved the budget with it in there. So in the future, I would really appreciate it if you are going to remove it, that you let us know in advance or make an arrangement where we can meet with you to discuss it.
As you know, the executive budget was reorganized, and I did that so that it was a lot more user-friendly, and that there was, it was organized in a way that the information was that was relevant to one another was easily read. In my opinion, the old format, you had different parts of related data in different parts of the budget, and I reorganized a lot of that information. What you have in the 5-year trend is historic, and most of the graphs and charts that are in there are in the front of, they're in the executive budget now. They're just incorporated a little bit differently than how it was organized in the past. But all of the same information is in the executive budget now. What we were talking about before were projections, which I stand on. The 5-year projections are not as useful when talking publicly in detail, because again, it's kind of a shot in the dark. I think it's more meaningful to talk about 1 or 2 year projections publicly in detail, because that's more meaningful based on where you are today. I think once you get past, a couple of years, it becomes more of a management tool and not so much of a forecasting tool. And what I don't want to have is put out something that appears to be detailed, that gives a 5-year projection that's not, in my opinion, very reliable. And mislead the public when there's a lot of things that can happen between now and 5 years from now, which is why I don't publish a 5-year projection. However, we do use it internally as a management tool. And as I said to you before, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and go through that with you.
I mean, I can appreciate that you don't want to publish something that could be, outdated the next day or the next week or the next month, but it's implied and it's implicit that when it's passed in conjunction with the municipal budget, that it's part of that budget. So we did it in the past, so I just would.
Again, that's not a projection,
thought that it was
a
good thing to have in conjunction with the budget, because it showed sort of the current position and the values. So,
again, what was included in the past was 5-year historic analysis of revenues and expenditures. All of that information still remains in the executive budget. It's just organized differently.
So then what of this?
It never included a 5-year projection.
So what isn't included that was?
It's 5-year historic analysis. It shows the historic trends in the last 5 years for each one of the, if I remember correctly, it was property taxes, non-tax revenue. It talked about taxes per capita. It talked about property values per capita, and it discussed the various trends related to that. That information is included in the executive budget that you've been provided.
Okay. I thought it wasn't.
It's in there.
Everything?
Yes.
You sure?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So then why did you tell me it wasn't in there?
We were talking about projections, not historic analysis.
Well, that's what I was talking about, was well, maybe we can discuss it again.
Not so much questions, but a couple of concerns. Again, I think, you, the team, Frank, you did a great job on the budget, and it's not easy work. couple of concerns just talking with the public, and it's really so much about, not back to the question of a forecast, but it's actually about what we think the capital needs of the town may be in the future. And I don't think it's maybe a topic for discussion in conjunction with the budget, but it may be something we want to bring to council in the future. For example, there was some discussion in the budget with reference to the sewer authority and the payment down of the sewer bonds. But what is the forecast for maybe when is the sewer plant going to require major capital investment? And do we have certain reserves already built up for the refurbishment of the sewer plant, just as an example of a question I got. And again, my answer was, I don't know, I will ask. But I thought it was a good question. Another question that came out was, should we be looking at the firehouse location? Does with the traffic study that we're doing, is the firehouse in the most optimum location? Given the fact that the town's getting taller, and the towns around us are getting taller, and they probably depend on our hook and ladder truck, I would imagine. Is it in the most optimum? But it's those kind of questions as to maybe in the future, you can go through with us what you anticipate the major capital needs, not just minor capital needs, but major capital needs of the town will be. So maybe some financial planning towards those major capital needs are underway.
We do a 5-year capital plan, which is reflected in your budget. I believe it's tab 9. It is high level, and I can certainly, again, provide a lot more detail, so I definitely take that feedback. Related specifically to the firehouse, we've actually talked about that internally as well, partly because it does sit at that intersection, which is very precarious, and the intersection just in general is problematic. With the firehouse being there, it just complicates it, and that is something we've discussed and we've sort of thought about if or where we might relocate it if that were possible. But that's certainly something that's a very long-term project because that's extremely involved. And I can certainly give you more detailed feedback about the sewer. In our long-range capital planning, we do try to anticipate as much as possible. There are no large investments that are necessary at this point, and we do plan ahead for capital. In fact, in the sewer, the debt is going to be totally paid for in the next 3 years, which puts the sewer utility in a fabulous financial position. But I can certainly give you more detailed information about the sewer utility if that's something you're interested in.
That would be helpful. And do we do replacement reserves for an operation like the sewer authority?
Yeah.
We do. Okay, so there's a certain amount of funds already in place for the replacement or major repair of the sewer plant?
Mm-hmm.
There is. Good.
I can get back to you on,
Great, thank
on the
you.
amount.
Then can I ask a question regarding that? Did we put in a bid for the post office on Morris Avenue?
Yes.
And how much was the bid?
I'll let the lawyer handle it.
Confidential bid, I could certainly meet and discuss with you after the fact, but the way the post office did it was through a broker, and anyone could submit a confidential bid, so we can't publicly announce what the amount was.
Did you get approval from council in order to do that?
Don't need it.
We don't need approval for that.
You need approval if you buy it. Then it goes to you, but to put a bid in, don't need your approval.
So it's a non-bonding bid?
It's a contingent bid.
It's a contingent bid. We don't have to accept if we win it. Is that what you're saying?
It's not a bid in the sense of a public bid. It's a bid where the broker is accepting numbers from various parties.
Thank you.
Keep your fingers crossed. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Any other questions or comments from members of council? If none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
No.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannaccone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 nay. Motion carries. Resolution R82, 2017 is adopted. Moving on to the next item that was removed for separate vote, Resolution R84, 2017. It's a resolution certifying the Resolution Ray governing body certification of the annual audit. Council members, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Member Iannacone. And was there another second? Council Member Davis. Thank you. That resolution R84, 2017 be hereby adopted. Is there any questions or comments from members of council?
Yes, the reason why I had it pulled, again, great audit, management letter last year was totally clean. This year, they did bring up the issue of deficiency in internal controls. But it was a minor, is that correct?
Yes.
Nature of the, can you describe it a little bit more?
I'm going to actually have to ask our CFO to
Okay.
address.
Mr. Mason. Mr. Mason.
So before you have the 2016 audit, it's required to be accepted by June 30th. As part of what we need to do is review the recommendations. There are two recommendations in the back. Accept the corrective action plan resolution that identifies those recommendations. And they are fund ledgers and subsidiary ledgers should be reconciled on a monthly basis. Implementation, the CFO and the assistant treasurer have met with the auditor to implement month-end procedures to ensure activities being reconciled on a monthly basis. And the second recommendation is the use of confirming orders should be eliminated. This has to do with purchasing and purchase orders. So I sent out a memo on June 6th to all departments directing them to implement the auditor's recommendations and to ensure that the purchase orders are completed prior to a purchase agreement issue. So that was a timing issue on the purchase orders. But that, like I said, that's correct.
Thank you.
These are minor infractions, but I'd just like to say the corrective action in the last couple of years, the comments, I think there were 4 the first year and then 3 now. So,
yeah.
Is it possible to get an update, like in 6 months from now, on the corrective actions and the improvement, whether or not the problem was corrected, and
Sure.
or would that be reflected in next year's audit?
It'll be certainly in next year's audit. Officially, they send something in writing on an annual basis, but I'll make sure that those are corrected.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments on the resolution? If none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 7 yeas. Motion carries. Resolution R84, 2017 is hereby adopted. Council members, please remain briefly after the meeting, as I need each of you to sign copies that we submit to the Division of Local Government Services, stating that you have in fact been presented with the audit and that you're certifying as to it.
Do we do 87? Do we do 87?
We didn't do 87 yet. I was just moving on to the next item on the agenda, a resolution R87, 2017. It's a resolution of support from Morristown Town Council authorizing a 2017 Morris County Trail Construction Grant application. Council members, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Armington and seconded by Council Vice President Foster. The resolution R87, 2017 be adopted this evening. Questions or comments from members of council? If none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Abstain.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 abstention. The motion does carry. Council members, that concludes the items on the regular business agenda for this evening. Moving on to unfinished business. Council members, you have 3 items that were placed on unfinished business at the request of Councilmember Iannacone at the May 23rd, 2017 meeting. Item number 1, effort to add Willow Hall to the list of historic places on the town website. Councilmember Iannacone.
Actually, the only question there is, we're updating the website with that information?
That's the one I don't have an answer for you on, but I
We
will
will be,
certainly, yes.
right? Okay.
Don't you have
Yes,
to
I
have,
apologize.
doesn't that have to be certified by the
is.
Preservation Commission for the state of New Jersey to be listed as a historic place? I mean, I think you can't just say that something's a historic place. I think you have to,
It is.
It is.
It is.
doesn't it have to?
It's already historic.
It'll be verified.
On the state register.
Already?
Yeah.
So this is just adding it on the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks,
clarifying
Marge.
that.
Thanks, Marge.
And then the second point, we were going to schedule to do the sort of the gap analysis with the county on the Greenway plan.
Yeah, we, actually, Anthony had a conversation with them this afternoon, and I'm just getting the memo, so I'm not familiar, but we did get a bit of an update. A lot of the plan has been completed or is in the works. The Patriots Path project that's been on the books for, 2 years now, which is finally moving because the federal government moves at a molasses pace. That's a big chunk of it, but once I've had an opportunity to digest this, I can give you a more intelligent
Because again,
response.
I think the administration of the town has done a great job getting funding for these trails. And what would be nice is actually seeing the map. And so we could identify what the gaps are. Sure. Because in a lot of the cases, the walking access to those trails is actually not on the trails themselves, but because we're a town, it's actually marking trails on our public streets possibly.
Correct.
So that people can actually connect with the trails.
Right.
Okay, so if we could do that in that kind of form, it would be great.
Sure.
Okay, and then the third item is actually maybe something we should do, maybe form a committee for. You know, these races that go through town are a tremendous asset, and they're a lot of fun. They're good for commerce, and it promotes health. They're good things. But actually, the trail that we had for the Seeing Eye Walk is actually, I think, very well designed because it's somewhat out of the commercial district, but it ties to the commercial district. Should we put a group together just to sit down with the race sponsors that could actually maybe develop 3 or 4 trails, routes for these races that actually don't interfere with either the, depending on the time of day and day of the week, doesn't interfere with either commerce or religious services or education?
I certainly would welcome that. We've had some internal discussions along those lines, particularly in planning for the races that you've considered before you in the last several months, and in light of some of the issues that we had with some of the races last year. You know, I understand that the township has a route and everyone has to use that route, and they have a very sort of rigid plan. Perhaps we're not going that far, but it would be very helpful for public safety planning in particular to have a consistent route. One of the challenges that we have is that we have 3 or 4 major races, and they each have very different conditions. You have the Verizon Run, which is on a Thursday night in summer. You have the Superheroes Run, which is on a Saturday. It's a 5K on a Saturday in the fall. And then there's the half marathon, which, because of the time length and its route is very different. So one of the challenges that we had internally was how do you homogenize the races to make them conform to sort of a route. You know, and then of course, addition, we also have the construction this year, which is hopefully temporary. But I would absolutely welcome some discussion around that to simplify that process.
Set up a committee?
Yeah.
Who would like to be on that committee?
I'll be part of it.
Good. You, Bob?
Yeah.
Anyone else? I guess I'll participate.
Sure.
So we have council members Elms, Iannacone, and Council President Armington.
Yes.
Bob, you had mentioned that the C&I route tied into the commercial.
Well, it touches
doesn't.
up. No, but it actually brings you up to Maple a little bit with the walk.
It doesn't go near the retail.
No, not at all.
That's
Oh, it doesn't go up to retail,
I thought
but goes.
that's the point you were making.
Point
was
we're
that
making, it doesn't go on
into
to the commercial street, but what it does, it goes close enough that it brings people towards
Just
town.
goes to James and Maple, and
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
and then it
But
What do you want
that's
them?
on
You
the
want them
si-
all in
that's
my
a
neighborhood?
sidewalk.
Is that what you're saying, Mr. Anico?
I think it's starting on
You want them all in the historic district? That's what it sounded like there. I might have
come up with some
to
routes, man.
let the people know in the historic district, Mr. Anico is trying to dump all the races on.
Just put yourself on the
4-2.
committee.
No, I can't be on your committee. But when you're done, let me know, Stefan. Anthony, get the map for the councilman. He can get it drawn up. And in closing, I know you guys have a few more things. I want to thank the council for your budget vote. It just gave the taxpayers another 0 municipal increase. And I appreciate that. I appreciate Jillian Barrick, Frank Mason, Fritz, Anthony, all the department heads for all the hard work and the hours they spent over the last several months putting this budget together. Legal, Beach Bar, the head of our legal department, our chiefs of police and fire, and all the other ones that are involved in the daily work that goes on in keeping this government running and being financially prudent in everything that we do. Also want to shout out to police chief to let his event, Don, for the Cops and Rodders event that they had. We really liked that event in downtown Morristown. Love the cars, and it's a very well attended and happy event. Thank you. That's it.
Stefan, new business, I guess?
There are none on the agenda, but
I
Councilman,
have just
I'm writing a call.
one follow-up question, though. We were going to take a look at the possibility of attended children that qualify under the school lunch program to have access to Burnham Pool at no cost. Did we ever come to a conclusion about that?
Were we talking about St. Pete's?
No, it was a broader discussion. I know I missed part of that discussion, but I think in general, I think we decided to try to plan something for next season. In order to effectuate something like that, we'd have to pass a fee ordinance, which would take us until halfway through the season. But we can certainly continue to work on that.
Stefan, can we take a look at that more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your other issues or not?
Yes, go ahead.
Are we done?
Just a quick comment, just to follow up on Mayor Doherty's brief intro to the successful event that we had at Carl Playground. It was Our Youth, Their Future's 8th Annual Youth Rally. It was a huge success. There were a lot of people that were responsible for putting that event together, including some of the businesses that donated food and time and resources so that the kids from the community could come out and have a good time. Chief Lanigan made sure that we had the fire truck there. Vij Pawar donated the medals and trophies for our basketball game. Mayor Doherty is always very supportive in donating the activities, the moon bounce and the dunk tank that we had for the first time this year. So,
Who got dunked?
rock. So, I mean, it's always a great event, and we do appreciate all the support. We do have a few anonymous donors that don't like to be mentioned, but again, we are very thankful. Our message this year was dream big to the kids. The organization was started by myself and a few others as a result of a teenager who committed suicide from our community at the age of 16. So we've been doing the annual event ever since 2010. The kids look forward to it every year. And again, we just thank all of the people that came out to support it and the people that helped make that event a success. So just wanted to thank everybody who took part to make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no other business before the council this evening. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Meeting adjourned, 9:39 p.m. Good evening.